Folks, welcome back to another hard-hitting dispatch from the front lines of the American experiment. You know, I love this country, the grit, the dream, the unyielding spirit that built it. But lately, it's starting to feel like we're all extras in a bad sequel to Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, where the senators aren't just filibustering, they're straight up gaslighting us from the inside. Let's cut right to the chase on this latest House debacle, shall we? Just last week, documents from Jeffrey Epstein's estate dropped like a bombshell, revealing that Delegate Stacey Plaskett, the non-voting Democrat from the U.S. Virgin Islands, was texting back and forth with the convicted sex offender himself during a 2019 House Oversight Committee hearing. Yeah, you heard that right. While Michael Cohen was spilling the beans on Trump's inner circle, Epstein was playing real-time whisperer, coaching her on questions about Trump associates like Rona Graff and other henchmen in Trump's orbit. Texts like, "He's opened the door to questions from Epstein," followed by Plaskett's, "Yup. Very aware and waiting my turn," all while America thought she was grilling a witness solo. And this wasn't some casual scroll. Epstein was her constituent, sure, but he'd maxed out donations to her campaign back in 2014, with the former First Lady of the Virgin Islands emailing him straight up, "We would have a friend in Stacey if he ponied up." Cozy? You bet, cozy enough to make you wonder if this was just gathering information or straight-up collusion to kneecap the Trump agenda mid-hearing. Now, here's where the Republicans had their shot at the whistle to hold her accountable, censure her, yank her from the House Intelligence Committee where she handles our nation's deepest secrets. Representative Ralph Norman brought the resolution, calling it beyond comprehension that she'd coordinate with a predator like Epstein. The vote? It could have been a slam dunk for oversight, for justice. But oh no, 209 to 214, it tanks. 3 Republicans vote no, 3 more present, and poof, no consequences. But because, in a move so predictably swampy it hurts, Democrats had a censure queued up for their own headache. Florida GOP Representative Cory Mills, embroiled in ethics scandals from Stolen-Valor accusations on his Bronze Star to threats against an ex-Backroom deal? You think? Conservatives like Representatives Luna and Kamak are screaming it from the rooftops. Leadership on both sides swapped protections, spare Plaskett, and Mills skates free. No quid pro quo, Mills swears, but come on, does anyone buy that in this town? And that's the sarcasm-dripping disappointment of it all, friends. What a performance! Republicans roar about draining the swamp, Democrats clutch their pearls over due process, all while the base laps it up like chum in the water. It's political theater at its finest, red team postures for the heartland, blue team virtue signals for the coasts, and the divide yawns wider with every scripted outrage. But what we see, that's the highlight reel. The real show's happening behind those closed doors, smoke-filled rooms where deals get inked to shield the guilty, facts get buried, and accountability? That's for chumps like you and me. We get the fireworks, they keep the fuse. If only we had someone, a sly fox, a green enigma, who could peel back the curtain with a wink and a riddle, forcing us to question every gotcha moment until the truth squirms out. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce a new voice in the fight, a colleague whose questions are his superpower. Straight from the shadow of the Capitol, broadcasting live, with inquiries sharper than kryptonite, I give you Mr. Tellis Whyman.
Listen up, citizens. Isn't it curious how a certain little rule tucked away in the House of Representatives lets any member say absolutely anything about anyone on the sacred floor? Could it be that the speech or debate clause in Article 1, Section 6 of the Constitution was originally meant to protect legislators from being arrested or sued for things they say during official duties? But tell me, when exactly did official duties start including calling your political opponent a traitor, a pedophile, or a communist with zero evidence? Wasn't it convenient that in 1979, the House decided to interpret the dusty old clause so broadly that even the wildest, most defamatory accusation is bulletproof the moment it's uttered between those hallowed desks? And isn't it fascinating that the Senate quietly adopted the same, say whatever you want, with no consequences, policy for itself? Have you ever wondered why a congressman can stand up and claim something like, that election machines are run by dead Venezuelan dictators, and then laugh all the way to the bank when the courts say, sorry, immunity. Or why a certain gentle lady from Georgia can scream that her colleagues are running child sex rings in pizza parlors and never have to apologize, retract, or face a single penalty? Isn't it delightful how this rule turns the People's House into the world's most expensive, off-Broadway theater, where the script is pure fiction and the reviews don't matter? Do you suppose the Founding Fathers imagined their little shield against King George would one day become the perfect license to flood the airwaves with weaponized lies? Could anyone have predicted that C-SPAN would become the only television channel where libel is not just free, it's encouraged? And isn't it just precious that the very same people who lecture you about disinformation on social media get to spew unchecked propaganda with total legal immunity the moment they put on their little congressional pins? Now, some spoilsports keep whining that the rule can't be changed without a constitutional amendment. So tell me, if the rule is truly untouchable, shouldn't every American understand that every scream, every conspiracy, every character assassination you see on the evening news might have been rehearsed that very afternoon on the House floor with zero repercussions? Shouldn't you start asking yourself which parts of your outrage were carefully planted by someone who knew they'd never have to prove a word of it? After all, if everything they say in there is magically immune from truth, law, or conscience, what exactly makes it any different from state-sponsored propaganda, you may ask? Can you answer me that, citizens? Or are you too busy swallowing the next carefully crafted riddle they've fed you? What do you think about this, America? Now that you have seen how the sausage is made, I ask you, does it leave a bad taste in your mouth? How about you, Caption America? What is your take on the shenanigans in the People's House?
Thanks. Tellis doesn't pull punches, does he? But that's the point, riddles or not. We can't let the theater distract us from the stagehands rigging the show. America deserves better than backroom handshakes and base-pandering kabuki. We deserve transparency, accountability, and leaders who serve the flag, not hide behind it. So here's my challenge to you, patriots. Hit the comments. If you think I'm off base on this Plaskett Mills mess, if you've got a different take on the Epstein shadows, or the House's endless encore of dysfunction, lay it out. Disagree? Debate? Bring the heat. Let's prove this democracy still works by hashing it out in the open, not some smoky anteroom. As always, let's have that conversation